Hello and welcome. I'm glad you could join me virtually from wherever life finds you right now. My name is Dr. Amanda Belderall Griffin. I'm going to be talking with you today about parenting during a pandemic, understanding trauma in particular. I'll cover some of the stressors for children and parents during the pandemic and talk about how we as parents can support our kids during this tough time. Before I get started, I want to give you some of my background. My pronouns are she, her, hers. I'm a pansexual cisgender woman in a heterosexual marriage. I'm also the daughter of a trans woman and the mother of two kids, ages 4 and 6. I have a PhD in Family and Child Sciences from the Florida State University, and I'm a licensed marriage and family therapist in the state of Florida. I am also an assistant professor of marriage and family sciences at North Central University, and have a private family therapy practice where I specialize in working with transgender youth, adults, and their families. I have been quite privileged during this pandemic to already have been working for an all-online institution and homeschooling my oldest child, so my life got to go on relatively undisrupted. I do want to acknowledge that privilege and that many of you may have had a lot more disruption, stress, and trauma as a result of the COVID-19 pandemic. Before we dive into sort of what this looks like practically for kids and families, I want to talk a little bit about the effects of stress on the brain. So when we get stressed, our bodies go into fight or flight. We get flooded with adrenaline, and our bodies produce a stress hormone called cortisol. Now typically when we get stressed, we kind of go through this process and then the stress goes away and that all settles back down. The cortisol and adrenaline work through our body and we return to sort of a normal homeostatic state. However, when we are in situations of chronic stress, cortisol can build up in the brain. That buildup can lead to disruption of synapse regulation, and it can even shrink the size of the prefrontal cortex. And that's the area of the brain that's responsible for memory and learning. So as you can imagine, this is not exactly great for our kids right now who are trying to do their best in their schooling and learning all the new information that they need to there. Stress can also increase the size of the amygdala, which makes us more prone to stress in the future. The good news is that our brains can recover, and the younger you are, the easier it is. So great news for our kids. Maybe not as good news for us, depending, but great news for our kids. And we can also help to decrease their and our stress now. So I definitely first want to acknowledge here as we dive more deeply into this topic that change is hard and uncertainty is hard. And we've had a lot of both. Kids in particular thrive on stability, consistency, and knowing what to expect. As a result of this pandemic, they've likely had interruptions to school, extracurricular activities, they probably haven't been able to see friends or extended family for a long time. And while all that is going on for them, we parents are likely trying to figure out new work routines, we're trying to figure out how to school our kids from home, we might be dealing with loss of income or uncertainty about when or if our jobs will return to normal. We may have maybe ourselves or our partners who are essential workers and maybe on the front lines, we're worried about them and their health. And at the same time, we're also not able to see our friends and our extended family or our support systems. We might also be dealing with changing dynamics of having multiple kids at home more often. You may see increases in sibling conflict. Though conversely, with more time spent together, you might also see that decrease as they work out their relationship better. Kids might vie for your attention more as they seek reassurance, or they perhaps aren't getting as much one-on-one time as they might have had with you before, if you were able to kind of go out and do special things with them. If you have an only child, you might be experiencing more pressure to find things for your child to do, to entertain them when they're not able to see friends and engage in activities outside of the home. So there's a lot going on there. And also, many of us are trying to figure out virtual schooling. And that comes with its own variety of stressors, dealing with technology issues, to navigating uncertainty about how content is going to be presented and if it works well for our child. And what it means, especially as queer parents, to have teachers virtually in our homes and how we want to navigate that. So what does all of this change mean for our kids? Well, it means a lot of stress. I'm going to talk to you in a minute about what that might look like a bit more broadly, but first I wanted to share a few things my own kids had to say when I told them about this project and asked them for their input. So my daughter Sapphire is 6, and she had a few things to offer, including some tips. She said, be sure to have some time with your kids. Go to Facebook on your computer or phone and pick a person that you miss to video chat. She also said, I really miss going outside of the home a lot. I like to be able to examine the outside world. And she also said, I am happy and sad. I'm happy because I get to spend more time with my whole family. I'm sad that I don't really get to go out of the house more. My son Ari, who's 4, asks, why don't you get those masks that other people have so we don't get the sickness? I think you should buy one mask for us if we're going somewhere like Jenna's house. I worry about everybody getting sick. I want to wear it, mask, so I won't get anybody else sick. I want people to not get sick. I asked him what helps him feel better, and he said to give me nice squeeze hugs. So I think here you can really see, especially my 4-year-old, how much our kids might worry and not really necessarily understand exactly what is going on, even if they aren't telling us that. So before I asked these questions to Ari, he didn't really talk about it. He didn't really talk that much about the virus or sickness or masks, but you could see this was really on his mind, and he didn't really understand why we didn't have masks, because we don't go anywhere. We were staying entirely at home. We weren't seeing anyone, we weren't going anywhere, and so we didn't have masks. But that was something that he knew people did, and was important for keeping people not sick, and that was something that he worried about, as well as not really understanding that he wasn't sick, and so therefore wouldn't be getting other people sick. So I think this just really highlights that there's going to be a lot going on under the surface for our kids. And I'm going to talk now a little bit about how we can address that, and some different ways that might look for our kids. So what I'm going to talk about here comes from the National Child Traumatic Stress Network. So they have a great fact sheet. You can get some more information there as well. But it shows some common reactions that kids may have to COVID-19 and how parents can help. So it's divided up by ages. In preschool age children, you may see an increase in clinging, whining, tantrums, bad dreams. They may be scared to be alone. You might see changes in appetite or difficulty with potty training. Even when this has previously been successful and you've had no problems, you may see some regression in behaviors. This is also true of school-aged children as well. In school-aged children, you may also see, again, increased whining and clinging. You might see increased irritability and aggression. Your child might complain of headaches or stomach aches. They may appear forgetful or distracted. In adolescence, their stress may manifest in avoidance of schooling activities, isolation or withdrawal from others, decreased energy, and changes in sleep or appetite. So what do we do with that? Well, across all ages, it's really important that parents respond in reassuring ways. Our children are telling us through their reactions that they're feeling unsafe. Some ways that we can promote a sense of safety across all ages include maintaining daily routines and encouraging children's involvement in those routines. So they really, again, need that consistency, that predictability, knowing what comes next. That really helps with the uncertainty piece of all that's going on right now. Being patient with negative behaviors. I'm going to put negative in quotes. Being patient with negative behavior. So if your child is clingy, if they're whining, if they have more tantrums, if they're more irritable, understanding that that's coming from a place of fear for your child, and responding with limits, but gentle limits, right? So that we are setting appropriate limits on behavior, while at the same time acknowledging and nurturing what is going on underneath that behavior for our child. Providing reassurance to our children that we're caring for them and that we are keeping them safe. It's very comforting for a child to know that somebody's got them, right? That you are the parent and you are doing what you can. And then staying connected with friends and family virtually. Just keep those connections, keep some normality, keep some other people that can be supports for your children as well. For younger children, it may be helpful to provide calming and comforting activities throughout the day, such as baths, coloring, story time. Structured play, like playing family board games, can help enhance bonds and family connection. It's also important that you avoid immediate exposure for young children, which can be frightening and confusing. Young kids don't have the ability to understand and process that information yet. There are often scary images or words that they may not fully grasp, and that can be really frightening. And finally, it's extremely important that little kids have plenty of time to play. Children process their world and express themselves through play. Engaging with them in play and allowing them to direct that can be really helpful in letting them work through challenging emotions or experiences that they don't have words for. Unstructured play really allows children to use their creativity, and it also gives them a sense of control over their world, which helps reduce their stress. Commenting on their play, for example, I see the dog is going across the bridge, without directing it, i.e., why don't you have the dog go across the bridge? Doing that kind of commenting helps leave children in control, while also letting them know that you see and understand their world. So you can kind of let your child invite you in as much as they want. They may really want you to get in and play with them, or they may want to play while you are there. But doing that kind of commenting on what's going on really says, I see you, I understand your world, and you're in control of what's going on here. In addition to helping reduce stress, that also helps increase your child's closeness and sense of safety with you, which ultimately will also help reduce their stress. Older children may need an opportunity to verbalize what's going on and to talk about their fears. It's important to help them feel empowered and to make sure they have accurate information, especially for adolescents who may be consuming media on their own or talking to other friends. It's really important that you're addressing what kind of information they have, answering questions that they have about the virus, about what that means, about school, about work, about any of those kinds of things. And if your child wants to help, look for ways that they can do that. Making masks, or collecting money for organizations that are providing support to frontline workers. One thing that I've noticed parents tend to be really bad about is that we forget about the importance of caring for ourselves. So we get focused on our kids, we're making sure they're okay, and we don't see taking care of ourselves as a piece of that. But actually that's really important for a number of reasons. One is we need that as parents, and in that, just on that alone, it's important that you care for yourself. But also, when we are calm, our kids are calm. Kids are very attuned to what we're going through as adults. If we're worked up, our kids are likely to be worked up too. And we're going to respond differently. We're going to be shorter. We're not going to be as reassuring. We're going to be, snap at our kids, and that's going to foster that with them, right? They're going to be more combative with us. If we're calm, confident, our kids will feel more secure, and they will be more calm and confident as well. Engaging in positive self-care also models for our kids how to do this for themselves, and that's going to serve them now and throughout their lives. Some ways that you can do that you can care for yourself, are to maintain those connections with family and friends virtually, right? That's important not just for our kids, but also for us. We need our support systems and our connections as well. Take advantage of telehealth services that are available to care for your own mental health. There are a lot of telehealth services right now, which is really great. That may be a really good outlet for you if you're needing some support or dealing with some of your own mental health concerns. Stay informed, but don't get overwhelmed. Take breaks through media, right? It's great to be informed, to know what's going on. It's really important, but it can also be overwhelming and exhausting. It's important that you also take some breaks and step away from that. Engage in fun, non-school or work-related activities, right? We can't just be all work, all school all the time, right? When all of that is happening at home, it can be difficult to disengage. It's not as though we're coming home from work or coming home from school and now we're at home and it's different. Everything's happening at home. And so really separating some time and engaging in some fun activities. Creating new routines that work for your family's current situation. So the routines that you used to have might not work now. They just might not be applicable to what's going on. And so working with your kids, your partners, your family, and to make some routines, some new routines that really work, that fit with what's going on, that help set everybody at ease, give everybody a sense of predictability and normality, really important. Engage in physical activity, especially if you're able to get outside. That's really good. Being in Florida, I get the advantage of beautiful weather and sunshine. But wherever you are, try to engage in some physical activity. If especially when you're working from home, oftentimes for many of us that means we're sitting in front of a computer all day. That's not great. It's not great for our physical health. It's not great for our mental health. Get out, take some walks. Just go swimming. See my Florida here. Maybe that's not an option for you, but get up, go do some things, try to get out of the house if you're able to a little bit, a park or just around the neighborhood. All really great options. And give yourself a break. You are doing the best you can. We can be really critical as parents on ourselves, really harsh on ourselves. If we are short with our kids, or we're not reassuring, or we're not as patient as we wanted to be. You are a human. You are not going to do this thing called parenting perfectly. There are no perfect parents. I'm a family therapist. I am not a perfect parent. You are doing the best that you can. Give yourself a break. And then creating virtual community as well can be another big piece of caring for yourselves and your children during this time. So whether you are in a community where you have a really great community, great connections to LGBTQ community, and other communities that you may be part of, or whether you didn't have that before, I think it can be really important right now to create those connections. Family Equality's neighborhood offers a lot of great programming, like this one. Your local pride group, if you have one, may offer some programming, some drag queen story hours, for example, which is really great, especially if you have young children. And you can look up, many various groups from around the country. There's a lot right now that's being offered free virtually. You have Facebook groups you can connect with, and I definitely encourage you to engage in video chats and virtual get-togethers with family and friends. If you're into board games, I've discovered recently you can play board games with people online. So looking for those things that really fit with who you are, what your family enjoys, and creating that sense of community, that sense of joy and normality and stress-free time. Really important. As people, we want that connection. We need that connection. And creating that can enhance your supports, which is going to help you to decrease your stress and to manage the stress that you do have more effectively for yourselves and for your kids. Thank you so much for your time in attending this presentation, and I hope that you enjoyed it and that you got some helpful information. Thank you so much.